Hi guys, and welcome to yet another video which shows you the features of SEO Content Machine. In this particular one I'm going to show you the article creator feature, which is probably one of the most important features of this piece of software. If you're doing SEO, then probably you need a lot of content for your link building campaigns as well as for your money site. While for your money site it's best to have manually written content which is high quality, that's not always the case with the content that you create for your link building campaigns. Since it takes a lot of time to generate content, article creator might be just the thing you need to save yourself some time and a lot of effort, and to actually have great content for your link building campaigns. With just a few clicks of the mouse, you can set up SEO Content Machine to generate as much content as you want for your campaigns and make it really easy for you to just collect links for your sites. So the first thing you do is that you need to select the keywords which define the topic on which you want your articles. And since we already started with payday loans, it's just what I'm going to write here now. Basically, after you run this task, SEO Content Machine will go out and scrape Google search results for articles on the topics of payday loans, cash advance, and whatever else you put in here. And then it will use those articles and it will combine them so that you have actually unique content which remains readable and somewhat useful to anyone who is reading it. Depending on the settings you use, you might just end up with content that is actually pretty good quality. One way or another, I wouldn't use content generated by this program for my top quality money sites, but for just about everything else, for tier 2, tier 3, and probably even tier 1 on some smaller sites, it could be okay, and it's best that you experiment and see what works for you. So let's see what settings we need to adjust in order to generate our content. First, we need to select our sources. Basically, these are the sources from where SEO Content Machine will get its content that it will later use to create your articles. And you have three main options. You can either get it online, or you can use locally saved content from a folder on your PC. In my case, I'm not going to do that. Or if you're a subscriber to Article Builder, then you can generate content in the category of your choice. Personally, I don't use this service, so I'm just going to select online sources. I'm going to scrape for content from Google USA, although if you are generating content in any other language, then you're probably better off using the local version of Google for that particular country. It's also a good idea to use the search safe option, which will limit the amount of content you can scrape, but it will only be content that's not adult related. And you can also select as many specific sites as you want to be scraped for content. Personally, I prefer to select the top article directories because the content there is usually unique and it's reusable if you spin it properly with a good quality spinner. You can also add your own sources, which makes SEO Content Machine, in my opinion, the best program of its kind. No other piece of software allows you to add your own sources, which means that all the users of a program can scrape the same sources, and eventually you will end up with duplicate content whether you like it or not. However, using SEO Content Machine, you can always specify new sources. In a previous video I added wifehacker.com to this menu, and now I can select it if I want to, and I can scrape it for articles that very few other people are also using. However, since I'm writing an article on payday loans, scraping wifehacker.com is probably not going to do me much good, but I can add other article sites that I think are useful. However, since I have absolutely no knowledge on the topic of payday loans, I can't, but hopefully you have enough knowledge to know where to scrape content from. And if you don't, you can always do some research and find out. Next, we have the custom content tab. Here you can manually insert content into your articles. Basically, you can click the add content button, and here you can add a piece of text that you want to use in your articles. It can be in spin text format, or it can be in standard format and then spin it using your favorite spinner. And you can also use protected words to make sure that you spin it the right way. Then you can choose whether that particular piece of content will end up on the top of each article, in the middle, in the end, or in a random place. The reason I think this feature is so valuable is mostly because you can put it on top. The Google employees who check your content for readability and who check all your links for readability usually only read the first paragraph of each page that is linking towards your money site, which means that you will be fairly safe if you have a readable first paragraph and not so readable second and third and etc. It's still risk, but it's much lower risk in my opinion. And if you want, I think this is a great feature to have. So I recommend you use it, especially for tier 1 links to a not so important site, or maybe even for tier 2 links to your really good money sites. However, personally, for this example, I haven't prepared any manual content, mainly because this is just to show off SEO Content Machine's features, so that's why I'm not going to insert any custom content. You can also have your titles and categories. You can also insert titles for your articles manually, and you can also insert the categories for your articles manually, if you are so inclined. Basically, this gives you more control over the quality of the final output. Of course, you need to spend a bit more time in order to make that happen, and it's up to your personal preference how much control you want over the final output. Personally, I think that for tier 2 and 3 you don't need that much control. Assuming that you're using a high quality spinner, I think you should be okay anyway. At most, you should probably add a first paragraph to a tier 2 article. Here in the links tab, you can add links to your articles to the content that SEO Content Machine has already generated. Basically, I'm going to show you how to do the most popular approach in the grey hat SEO community, which is to have one set of links which either consists of your money link or your tier 1 or tier 2 links. Basically, if you are generating content for tier 2, then here you need to feature all your tier 1 links, tier 1 URLs. If you're building an article for tier 3 content, then here you need to feature the links to all your live tier 2 articles with links. I hope you get the idea. If you don't, feel free to ask in the comment section. In this particular example, we'll pretend that we are building links to our money site, and I'm going to leave paydayloans.com here, and here I'm going to add a few keywords. To do that, I'm going to use the suggest feature of SEO Content Machine, which is fairly simple to use. You need to write your keyword here. You select the local version of Google that you want to use, again based on the language in which you want to write your own article. Personally, I'm happy with USA for this example, and I hit enter. And as you can see, you can get a lot of variations on your main keyword. And at some point you need to stop, because SEO Content Machine won't stop by itself. And you just select all, hit copy, and you paste them here. The reason I'm doing this, as Greyhead 101 can tell you, the best thing you can do in theory is to only have here as keywords only the words that you want to rank for, which in this case is payday loans. However, if you're just building links to your site with the anchor text payday loans, that will be very suspicious to Google and you will get penalized. However, if you have enough anchor text variations and the link profile for your money site has all kinds of different anchor texts, then that seems a lot more natural, and Google might assume that your site is legit and all those links are manually created by people who actually want to link to your site. So in link count I set from 1 to 1 because I want this link to appear only once in each article, and I click OK. I'm now going to create another set of links which is used for diversion, basically in the Greyhead community. The logic behind this is that if all the pages that link to your site contain only that particular link to your site, that may seem a bit suspicious, because usually site pages link to all kinds of different sites and not just to only yours. So that's why, to cover your tracks and to make Google not know which is the actual link to your money site, you need to enter some other links. You need to insert some more links in your articles, which are to sites that you don't actually care about. So again, I'm going to use the keyword suggest, and I'm going to use the same keyword payday loans, because if your article has more links with this particular anchor text, this tells Google that this particular article and this particular page is about payday loans, which makes any link that you receive from it even more valuable than otherwise. In this case, I'm going to use another keyword for even more variation. Of course, you can use as many keyword variations as you like. However, keep in mind that this will make the generation of a single article more time consuming in the future, so your link building program will have to use more resources to generate content from the spin tags. And if you're actually experiencing problems, then you might experiment with the amount of keywords you're inserting. So after you scraped for keywords, you need to also scrape for URLs for your links. Personally, I would like to use Scrapebox for this task. You can also use Lycorn, for example, which has its own search engine scraper. The first thing I have to do is select all these keywords, copy them, paste them here, and start harvesting for URLs. I only need a few, so I'm not going to wait for very long. I remove all duplicate domains. And I copy all the rest to clipboard. And then I paste them here. Now, the next issue we have to deal with is how many links to insert in each instance of your article from this particular group. Personally, I prefer to insert from 0 to 3 links in this manner. Some people say that 1 to 4 is probably best. I do it a little differently, and I'm going to show you right now what is my personal preference in this regard. So I click OK. So now I'm going to actually add another group of links, which is my personal modification on the popular way of thinking. And here I'm going to paste some authority URLs. Basically, these are government sites, educational sites, newspaper sites or TV websites, etc. These are all authority sites, are usually those who provide information, such as for research, as these two. Some are sites for a TV channel. Some are government sites, other are educational sites. Basically, these are some of the main categories of sites that you might consider to be high authority. And the thing is that when you link to such a site, in the eyes of Google, your own article becomes more authoritative, just because it has a link to such an authoritative site. So that's why I think it's a great idea to have a link to such a site. And now I'm going to paste a few keywords as well. So, as you see, these are just some random keywords that are usually used to link to any site. Basically, it doesn't matter what the anchor text here is, as long as you're linking to an authority site. And I prefer to always have at least one such link. Of course, I would also prefer to have as much URLs here as possible, so that I can leave a smaller footprint. But for this example, I'm not going to generate such a huge list. So I'm ready with this group of links also. And I think this is all that I need to configure in this particular tab, so I can go to images next. Here you determine the amount, if any, of images that you want to be inserted inside your content. And my personal preference is to set that number from 0 to 2 images in an article, since more than 2 usually starts to look a bit spammy. I also select all these 3 options, which means that the images that have been inserted can be aligned left, right, or they can be centered in different versions of the same article, which of course creates more variation and more uniqueness of your final content. For image size, I prefer it to be about 300. Actually, there's no particular reason I do this, but I figure that a lot of people will leave it at 250, and I want to be at least somewhat different from all the other people who use SEO Content Machine. I believe that will make my content just a bit more unique, so I advise that you use a different image size from mine as well. Next, you have to specify from where will SEO Content Machine get the images to insert into your articles. You can either get them from Google by scraping, or you can get them from the Creative Commons database, or you can add custom images, which you can either insert from a local folder, or you can scrape for them using the image scraper feature of SEO Content Machine. Personally, I see no reason to scrape for images, and I'm just going to let the article creator scrape for them and insert them automatically. Basically, the only reason I see you could want to scrape for your own images manually is if you want to have actual control over the images and if you want to check them out one by one. However, I think that is a waste of time, but again, it's great to have this level of control over the content you're generating. Next is the alternate tags of the images. Here I would prefer to select the suggest keywords option. Basically, this means that the alternate tags of the keywords of the images will be those 2 keywords plus every keyword that the keyword researcher function of SEO Content Machine can scrape, which, if you remember, looks like this. So each of those keywords can become an alternate tag for the images in your articles, and as you see, there are quite a few of those that can be generated. So you can be sure that you will have an almost unique alternate tag for each version of your article, which I think is quite nice. So we are ready with this tab, and then we go to videos. Personally, I prefer to have from 0 to 1 video in each article, which means that some versions of the article will have no video and some of them will have one. Again, you can scrape your own videos and then paste them here, or you can use the article creator to scrape them for you. I see no reason to not let the article creator scrape them for you. The size of the video, I would prefer it to be about 360, and in this case I advise you to do the same, since this is the standard size of a YouTube video, and it's a bit suspicious if you have it in a different size, and it's even more suspicious when you have it in a different size on 500 or 1000 different websites, all linking to your money site. So if you don't want to use footprint, use the default video size and you will be okay. You can also schedule this task. You can say how often to have it run. Basically, you can run it every week, for example, and each week in the specified folder for this project you will get a new article that you can use for your link building campaigns. Personally, I prefer to scrape and generate as much content as possible at once and then forget about it, but then again I don't spam that much. I'm mainly building links to my money sites. I'm not using any black hat SEO, so probably that's why I don't need to schedule these tasks. If you need a lot of content, then probably it's a good idea and it will be useful for you. However, I'm going to turn it off. And now we're going back to the first page. I have set up Spin Rewriter as my spinner of choice. After the content has been generated, it will be spun for even greater uniqueness. If you don't have a subscription to any of the paid spinners, you can also use the built-in spinner, which soft spin in this case stands for software spinner, and you can use this spinner, which is free of course if you bought the program. However, understandably it's not as good as the paid options, and my spinner of choice is Spin Rewriter. Now let's explain these settings. The number of paragraphs means that different articles will have different quantity of paragraphs inserted. I prefer to set this to from 4 to 7 because this is the most natural amount of content that an article usually has. Each paragraph is usually about 100 words, so this means that the articles you generated will be from 400 to 700 words approximately. Now, paragraph variations. Each paragraph will have a given quantity of variations. Basically, the more variations you have for each paragraph, the more different unique versions of the same article can be generated from one particular article. The number of unique variations of each paragraph determines to a large extent how many variations of the final article can be used safely. You can play with those parameters. You can either increase the article count or you can increase the paragraph variations for each article that you generate. Personally, I prefer to use more paragraph variations, since simply mathematically this means that I will get many more unique combinations of paragraphs rather than if I had fewer paragraph variations and more articles. Of course, this also means that any link building piece of software that you use will need to expend more resources in order to generate a single article from your spin tags. So you should increase this with caution I think that I have a dual core CPU and I can easily handle 15 variations in each article. I think this is more than enough. But of course you are welcome to experiment on your own. So here you can select which piece of software you're going to use to submit this content. You need to do that since different pieces of software use different formatting styles for their content, so in order for it to work you have to select the right one from here. In this particular case I'm going to select GSA Search Engine Ranker. I think it's highly recommended that you use software generated content with GSA Search Engine Ranker, since in those cases you need to build as many links as possible. It's not about quality, it's more about quantity, and when it comes to quantity, GSA Search Engine Ranker is the best piece of software there is. It is also very good for building quality links, but that's not what we are mainly aiming at with this particular software generated article. I can also define some junk words that I can exclude from any content that I scrape. However, since I don't want to write profanities in this video, so I'm going to leave it alone, but if you'd like, you can always include a list of junk words here. So now I have the choice to either just save this task and run it later, or I can run it immediately, and I choose to run it now. So now the article we had to generate is ready, and let's see the application walk to see what actually happened. So first, this task started, it tested my spinner, it turns out it's working fine. So then it used the keyword payday walls and found 201 results, 201 articles, and it also found 27 results from custom sources, which were the 5 article directories that I selected for scraping. So in total we had 228 results, 228 articles for our own article, and in our case we had to use only 15 intro paragraphs and 90 body paragraphs. Now these errors that we see, I don't think they're errors in my experience. Basically what this means is that the Spinner Rewriter API has the limit, which is 1000 words. You can't create a API request for more than 1000 words. So if my article is more than 1000 words, then it has to be submitted in more than one request. So the fact that I have 2 errors in my application walk means that I had to submit a new request 2 times, which tells me that the article that SEO Content Machine had generated before spinning was somewhere around 2000 to 3000 words. So we had 100 videos and 159 images to insert into the article, and each time you generate a new version of it, you will get different images and different video. So in total, this article took less than 10 minutes to be built. And let's see the article itself. So you have the keywords that you're going to use, the anchor text variations, which are quite a few, your image comment, your article title, your article content itself. Here you see the first link being inserted. And I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing, but as you can see, it's quite large, and that's because it can fill each and every field that your link building project has. So let's see how that works in action. I open up GSA Search Engine Ranker. And I create a new project with all the platforms that I can submit to, which are quite a few. And as you can see, if you want to submit to all the platforms, you need to fill out quite a lot of content. Some of it is already filled, but a lot of it isn't. So it's quite a lot of work if you have to do it manually. And that's not only those fields, but also the articles themselves. Now, some of the fields have been filled by GSA Search Engine Ranker. I wouldn't use this content myself, however. The main reason for this is that although it's a great feature, although the GSA team meant well when inserting this content, and it's certainly better than nothing, using the same content as every other person who has this piece of software is not a wise decision. This content is highly spun, but if thousands of other people are using the same piece of content, then you are still not submitting unique content. So that's why if you have a third-party piece of software which generates content for you, you have a competitive advantage over all the others who don't. And in the end, that translates to more money. So I just click Tools, Autofill, use SEO Content Machine, import. And now my anchor text field has keywords in it. Every other field that needs to have content is also prepared. And you also have the article. Now you can simply enter your target URL, enter a few keywords, and you're ready to start submission. And of course, you can use the article creator with any other link building software that you have. And if it's not on this list, you can either insert the formatting yourself if you know how to, or you can send a feature request to the developer. He is kind enough to answer to most requests, and if you have a piece of software that you need to be supported by SEO Content Machine, I think he will be willing to help you. Although of course I can't speak on his behalf, so best to check it yourself if you have such doubts. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. Have a nice day.